this that hey, let's go look at it. Let's go over it because it's no debate, right? That Canelo has the better record, 49-1-2 with 34 KOs. 28 years old right now, can be considered the prime of his career. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. You know what? I think it's best to go backwards and work our way up. So let's go all the way back to, was it Jose Miguel Cotto is when he first appeared on HBO? Correct me if I'm wrong. And these fights all the way up until Kermit Citron were HBO showcase fights. Then on the undercard of Mayweather versus Cotto back in 2012, Mayweather's last fight on HBO, he fought as the co-feature against Shane Mosley, who at that point in time was coming off of a defeat, a defeat to Pacquiao, in which it was the most he's ever been dominated by outside of Floyd Mayweather. It's debatable. So, moving on, after that, it was Jose Zito Lopez, correct? Jose Zito Lopez, because it was supposed to be a Victor Ortiz tune-up fight. Victor Ortiz fought Jose Zito Lopez. Victor Ortiz was winning the fight until Victor Ortiz got his jaw broke by Jose Zito Lopez with Canelo and Oscar De La Hoya ringside. Jose Zito Lopez gets the Canelo fight. Canelo knocks him out. You have Austin Trout. Now, this right here, up until this point, we were seeing nothing but the offensive talents of Canelo. Now, remember, he's only 28. He was 22 at the time, still very young when he fought 22 or 23, about that age, when he fought Austin Trout. Now, remember, mid-fight, Canelo started slowing down. This was the first real glimpse of what was to come in regards of Canelo's defensive prowess. Canelo was a very good defensive fighter, and each of his big fights we've seen him get better and better defensively. Remember, he had Canelo on the ropes, Austin Trout known as a light puncher, and Canelo literally used an upper body movement to dodge what was being thrown by Austin Trout, showing that he had great upper body and head movement. He won the fight, even though this 118-109 is disgraceful. I had more so 115-112. Remember, later on, about a round or two later, Austin Trout went down, flying across the damn ring. And then, of course, the big money fight against Floyd Mayweather, where C.J. Ross tried to screw Floyd Mayweather 114-114. So the comeback fight and the beginning of Canelo Weight, 155 pounds. This is actually the genesis of Canelo Weight. The best describe it is that Canelo was supposed to face Alfredo Angulo at 154 pounds after fighting Mayweather at 152 pounds, after Canelo had said, if the Mayweather fight comes along, I'll fight him at 152. So then, they did a whole all access talking about the weight, and Canelo and his team was pretty upset, and Leonard Ellerbe was like, listen, you said 152, not us, so you signed the contract. So nonetheless, his next fight was against Alfredo Angulo, and the day of the weigh-in, Canelo couldn't make that 154 pounds. So the day of the weigh-in for the Canelo Angulo fight, one day before the fight, it was renegotiated in Alfredo Angulo's contract, and he was given extra money, and therefore the fight was set at 155 pounds, and Canelo Weight was born. He goes on to fight Erislandy Lara in a fight where Oscar De La Hoya, if he wasn't in rehab at the time, said that he wouldn't have made. Canelo at the post-fight press conference for the Angulo fight, Erislandy Lara was awkwardly standing behind him, confronting him about the fight. Like, you can't really call it a confrontation, but confronted him about the fight, whatever. And what ended up happening is Canelo felt weird about it, I guess, and went to Richard Schaefer, who was the CEO and running Golden Boy Promotions at the time, and say, hey, listen, make that fight. Made the fight. Nonetheless, we saw that it was a very controversial fight. In my opinion, Erislandy Lara didn't do enough. So even though, don't get it twisted, even though I have Canelo losing to Golovkin in the rematch, however, we're going to talk about how he can win. But I have him losing in the rematch, but I did have him beating Erislandy Lara. And we saw that he can be an excellent pressure fighter when put under the test, when really I'm thinking that his corner probably thought that they were losing. So we saw that when, pressure is on, he can turn it up. Then James Kirkland, who hasn't been seen since James Kirkland just got his ass. Here he is right here. In fact, right here. This is James Kirkland. This is what we've seen of him. He's just never been the same. Never been seen. Was supposed to fight Cotto, never happened. Then this fight right here with Miguel Cotto, when Miguel Cotto was ordered to pay something like $1.6 million, $800K to Golovkin for step aside for the Canelo fight to happen, and then another $800K in sanctioning fees. He chose to drop the belt, and Canelo went on to beat him to become WBC champion. At that point in time, Golovkin was the mandatory and was expecting to fight the winner next. Nonetheless, he went on to fight Amir Khan in a fight that surprised everybody at a catchweight, obviously, at this point in time. This is now Alfredo Angulo, Lara, James Kirkland, Miguel Cotto, Amir Khan. That's 5 fights right there at Canelo Weight. So this was his last fight at Canelo Weight. He fought Amir Khan, knocked him out. The pressure was so high on him for him to fight Golovkin, and his team and himself saying that they wasn't ready for 160 pounds. They wasn't a 160-pounder yet. They got butt naked on the scales and fought Liam Smith for that WBO 154-pound title. Quietly dropped it, quietly vacated, moved up to Super Canelo middleweight. Moved up to Super Canelo middleweight, 164.5, and fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., which pissed a lot of people off. The fight was trash. Canelo was getting trashed for dropping his belt. Mexicans turned their back on him, and then finally, people thought it was WWE, and Chavez Jr. had took a scam check. The fight was announced that night that Canelo was going to be taking on Golovkin. And the rest is history since then. So, it's obvious that Canelo does have the better resume. And overall, when it comes to footwork, when it comes to overall speed, when it comes to hand speed, upper body movement, and defense, he is better in those categories. But does that make him the overall better fighter to I think Golovkin's going to beat him. I don't think that Canelo's power has carried up to 160 pounds like we may think. Now, of course, as it's always said, the perfectly timed body shot, liver shot, whatever you want to call it, can knock somebody out. But we saw that Golovkin, the second half of that fight, took everything Canelo had to offer. So what is Canelo doing? He's looking obviously a lot lighter. It's a shame that, whatever happened with the clenbuterol happened. Please understand that the reason why Canelo wasn't suspended a year and only 6 months was because he took a deal. The Nevada State Athletic Commission said that they don't give a shit, basically, how the clenbuterol got in his system. Because it's his first offense, he took a deal, and they said, listen, admit that you did that shit for whatever reason or that it's in your system, and we'll be lenient and not suspend you for a year but only 6 months. The shit looks bad, but still, nonetheless, Golovkin's mad. He think that he really cheated. Abel Sanchez and them think that he cheated. They were talking about IV marks. Now, of course, there's only but so far that they can go because they don't want to be sued for defamation. But me, I don't want to believe that he did, especially a young fighter in his prime. But it's hard for, when his team works in the meat industry, Chepo, and, they know about the issues down there with clenbuterol. And then you have other fighters saying that, man, I be eating that shit all the time. I don't inject it. I think Estrada said that he shouldn't be eating it. Don't nobody. Listen, I feel that athletes should know better. It's like this. You got to watch what you put in your body anywhere. And I understand how people say, well, how you going to tell him not to eat the meat from his home country? And listen, no. These athletes have to be held at a high standard. Canelo, you're a millionaire. Get your meat from fucking imported. Get your own cows. McDonough got his own cows. Get your own cows. You're a multi-million-dollar athlete. He lost out on millions of dollars. How much does a cow cost? How much does a good cow cost? Damn it, I don't have Siri down here. Okay, Google. How much does a cow cost? Oh, this is important. How much does a cow cost? God damn you. Okay, Google. How much does a cow cost?
According to the Eagle, based on $550 annual cow cost, 88% calf crop, and $180 per hundredweight average price for a 525-pound calf over 7 production years, a $2,150 cow-calf pair purchased in the spring of 2014 would have a 10% return on investment.
I don't know what none of that means, but I guess you can get a cow for like $2,200, and you got to get like the cow feed. Canelo can get his own cows. But let's get back to it. If Canelo was going to beat Golovkin, and if he does beat Golovkin, it's obvious that he's focusing on moving and boxing, right? He's looking lighter. This is the 7-day weigh-in was a couple of days ago. He was 163.2. Remember last time he didn't weigh in because the WBC stripped him, or was going to strip him, so he had to vacate. That beef he had with the WBC, no pun intended, it wasn't, that shit wasn't for real. He had no business being mad at them. He was just mad that they didn't show him leniency because Golovkin had beat the WBC interim champion, which made him the mandatory Marco Antonio Rubio, then beat the future mandatory in Martin Murray. So Canelo had to fight him, but yet he chose to fight Amir Khan, and then he chose to fight Chavez Jr. afterwards. So the WBC went to him like, yo, bro, they on our ass. Why won't you fight him? We don't want to strip you because you El Cinnamon and you El Mexicano and shit. But so then he tried to act like he was mad at them, but now he is fighting for the title. So that's a good thing. If you don't know, it's the WBC, WBA titles on the line. Unfortunately, Golovkin was stripped of that IBF. You're going to have Danny Jacobs and Sergey Derevyanchenko fighting for that on October the 27th on HBO. Expect both of those fighters to be at the fight. If you don't know what the undercard is, it's going to be David Lemieux versus Spike O'Sullivan. It's going to be Jaime Munguia versus Brandon Icebuck Challenge Cook. It's going to be Roman Latito Gonzalez versus Moises Fuentes. And some other people too, obviously. Pay-per-view is going to be $84.99 in HD. I'm going to be doing a live stream after the fight on this channel. We're going to watch some highlights, talk about the fight, chat, what's next for both of the fighters, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to be covering the weigh-in. Fight weekend events include tomorrow's the grand arrivals at the MGM for the fighters, when they show up, like a pep rally, shit like that, the mariachis and shit. Wednesday is going to be the final press conference. We're going to be covering that and streaming that here on the channel. I believe we are. No, on my burner channel. Thursday is the undercard media workout, as well as the undercard final press conference. Then, of course, Friday the weigh-in, and also on we're going to be streaming here after the weigh-in, and then obviously Saturday the fight, and then after the fight, the post-fight press conference, and so expect for me to be doing multiple videos this week because it's a lot of things to talk about. So this is 2 parts. So I did a Canelo fight week. I did a Golovkin fight week. I got to do a fight week for the undercard fights, and then remember on Friday there's an ESPN card with Jose Ramirez versus Antonio Orozco. That's Golden Boy ESPN, along with Top Rank. What else? I think that's it. Please subscribe. I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live.